Detect and Talk of the day, the 13th day of October, 1:27 in the afternoon. Okay. As far as making this machine more responsive to a non-ferrous target, sweeping this coil down a nail, here's what I found to be the best so far, okay? Now you can try this if you want to. I encourage you to, okay? This is the best that I have found. Let me go over here and look. Yeah. It's going to be probably hard for you to see, but we'll see if we can't pull this off here. Okay, so sensitive FT again. You need to be running a negative disc somewhat below 0. You might get away with a -2, -3, but I've got this one at -4. Silencer number 4. Okay, this is 2.5 speed in the camera here. Okay, I've got the notch in there. We're running pitch tones, but you see that 0, 0 pop up in that window right there? So I've got it notched. See that down there? I can invert these, I guess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to scroll down. Okay, so there's no notch there. So in N1, I'm going to hit that button, put that 0, 0 in there. You see that? So now I'm coming down to the next one. Hit the right arrow key, scroll over to 4, and we'll run it up to about 11. Okay, so that's what you see in the window, but there's more notch in this machine than that. Okay? You see that? There it is. Okay, so we're 53 kilohertz band, we're at 2.5 reactivity. Silencer 4. Okay. So you hear that mercury dime out there? You hear that? There's that gold ring. Notice there's 2 colonial period nails there, and I've got this nail back here. Now what I did is I intentionally tried to cut this coil off using the fast program Silencer 1. But this is not what you're listening to here. You're listening to this modified listen. You hear that. So we are going to scroll over here to the fast program. 6.8 disc. The silencer is 1. There's that mercury dime again. You hear that. Here's that gold ring. Now, before I put that nail in there, I could cheat that coil and get a little signal with fast program. I can't do that anymore. Now, before I forget, I'm going back to this program. Now, some people are not going to be too fond of this, and you can do your own experiments, okay? Bottle caps is at 5. Could you get away with a 4? Well, you get to do your own experiments. You use your equipment any way you see fit. There's that gold ring again. You hear that. We'll pick the gold ring up. Let's sweep again. We don't hear anything, do we? Okay. Now, I've looked at several situations out here with the iron orientation. Alright, and all of this is air test. I'm cautioning you there, okay? But you might save some time. I may be saving you some time. Alright. I've even looked at that. Different orientations. Don't hear anything on it, do you? Hear that old mercury dime out there? Again, you can run 4 or 5 tones on this. Okay, now this piece of iron right here is problematic, but it's actually problematic running the machine at silencer 1 even. Sometimes. That don't sound too bad there. Right there. I don't know what that's made out of, okay? But that one's a problem. Alright, but if we use this, we'll sweep again here. I guess we shouldn't, but that one right there, I don't know what that is. It's a very unusual shape. Alright. There's that gold ring sitting out there. You're hearing that gold ring right now. Alright. Now this is the best that I have, based on what I'm seeing here, this is the best that I've found. Okay, there's that old, that's tough right there. That thing is flat. That nail is very flat shaped. Okay. There's a regular nail, pretty good size. You get to hear that. This flat nail and this gold ring. There it is right there. So we've got some signal. May have some EMI in this area. I'm gonna noise cancel this machine. This is the 53 kilohertz band. You may experiment with the 89. I've looked at it. Now just remember, this is silencer 4, so I'm not saying this is going to see everything silencer 1 will see in the fast. I'm not saying that. I'm not telling you this is the only way you should run this machine. I'm saying you may want to do some of your detecting in the sight, sweeping it around. Okay. There's a fairly sizable colonial nail. You hear that gold ring. You hear that. Let's go back to fast program real quick and look at this in silencer 1, 6.8 disc. Fast program, silencer 1, 6.8 disc. So we can hear that there. Can we hear it right there? So I have to really back that coil up. Alright, here's the program I'm showing. I'm right over the top of that gold ring with that coil. Now that number 00 is sort of important. Okay? Notching that 00 number out. You hear how that machine sounds right there? On that nail, you hear that? Sweeping it. If I go into this machine, I'm going to open up. Now I'm in N1. I just took out that 00. Listen. You hear that? Now I put it back in there. You hear that? So that neuters these nails, sweeping them from the, not long ways, but edgeways, we'll call it. You see that? Sweeping that nail right there. I'm going to take it back out. Now all that's in the machine is 0, 4 through 10, but you can't see it in the thing. You see it down there. Listen. Hear that? That's not too good. So we put that 0, 0 back up there. Hear that? What it did to it? Yet I can still get some clue that that ring is there, and I can get some clue that this go ring is there. And if we switch nails, put the mercury dime over here, okay, and take the mercury dime away, we don't hear anything. So that's the best way that I've found, okay? If you want to toy around in a sight, but you got to have that disc somewhat below 0. You can't cramp that number 0. Got to give this machine some room. I just chose -4. Okay, per sweep of the coil in a high iron sight, this may snag you a higher conductive coin or something higher conductive. It's possible, yeah, I'll be using this right here some, and I'm still looking. If I see something better, I'll pass it along, okay? But that's the best I can do right now. I have looked at the 89 kilohertz. I'm not going to say much about it yet, though, in a video. Trying to manipulate this machine, you know.